Okay, everyone ready? That was my, didn't even need the gavel. We are already in session, so this is a continuation of our meeting. Tonight, we have a few things on the agenda. We're going to start with visitor comment. We're going to hear a city manager's report. We have a presentation from our awesome sheriff and her posse that is in the back with her. We have a hefty consent agenda. We have a couple public hearings, and we have some work sessions. So let's get rolling. As a reminder, local or public comment is an essential piece of local government business. Hearing from you is incredibly important. However, for us to comply with Oregon's open meeting laws, this is not a time for a dialogue, rather a time for us to listen. If follow-up is needed, the city manager or the recorder are here to take notes and have a follow-up from the city. With that, we have 4 people signed up for public testimony. If you are here for the public hearing on water, you will testify in another portion of the meeting. This is general public comment tonight. With that, Gadir, am I saying that correctly? In person, David Whittier on deck. Alicia is also third, and Amy Siberian. Gitra? Is there somebody? Do you think that's how you say it?
I don't know.
Yeah. Giedre. Okay, so we'll start with David. When you are ready to go, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. Mayor and council members, I'm David Witter. I'm the president of the Lewis and Clark chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. You may recognize this uniform because we wear that when we do volleys at the Memorial Day in the Beaverton Veterans Memorial Park. I came to introduce myself to you because there may be a piece of business coming before the council here soon related to construction of a Revolutionary War Memorial in the Beaverton Veterans Memorial Park. Our chapter's been working since 2008 on the idea of constructing a memorial in the park to recognize the patriots and the our first veterans of this country who served in the American Revolution. This would be the only memorial of this kind of scale in the western United States. There are, of course, many memorials in the colonies, but not many patriots of the Revolution made it to Oregon. So we have put together a proposal. We've been raising funds since 2008. We now have $80,000 in the bank and have submitted a proposal to the Oregon's Veterans and War Memorials Grant Program for $61,000 to help finish the memorial. I'm here basically because I want to see how the council works. And I'd be pleased to answer any questions. We enjoy working with the Legion Post on Memorial Day celebrations and also celebrating other notable events, 4th of July and the Veterans Day. So the idea behind the memorial and the push we're making right now is to have that memorial completed and dedicated before the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which will come up next year, July 4th, 2026. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Alicia? Sure.
My comments will make more sense.
Okay, Amy.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm here tonight because we've been again subject of vandalism. I have a small business in downtown Beaverton, our Roasteria coffee shop, and across the street is our Roastery bakery. This time, as I said multiple times, this happened over the last 5 years. It seems that this kind of vandalism, act of vandalism, and in a way, terror act against our employees is not reducing, is actually staying the same or even getting worse. So I'm just here to be heard, and I know it's a problem that our community deals with it. I'm not the only business owner, but maybe tonight I can be a voice, another voice for you to hear. We put our faith into to your hands and elected officials across our state to come up with a solution. But what I'm observing is reacting to what is happening, not finding an actual solution for the problem we have in hand. We had people broken into our back door of our offices or our business and threatening our employees. We have people steal thousands of dollars of power tools and things that we use for maintaining our business. We had people actually coming with knife and threatening our employees that they're going to kill them if they don't serve them the way they want. We have just recent, this Sunday night, a crazy person just broke into, throw a couple of decorative, those huge decorative rock that city put on the streets to make it look nice. They throw them into our windows and shattered our roastery and actually resulted in a lot of damage. I'm not worried about the damages, the physical damages. I'm worried about the mental, physical, moral damage that our employees, while they're working, they're experiencing. So we got a call from district attorney to file a charge against the person who did it. They actually captured him. But what's the purpose of that? We as small businesses, we are bombarded with taxes. I'd rather my tax spent on finding a solution for these sick people. A mentally ill person, a drug addict, is a sick person. Putting him in a jail and asking for money that somebody who doesn't have a mean to pay, it doesn't solve the problem. He's going to serve a couple of weeks in the jail, and then he's going to be on the street again and probably do worse than what they did the first time. So I know I don't have the solution, but I know that as a community, if we come together, business owners, elected officials, even mental health professionals, if we can get together and come up with solutions for our community, maybe we can get somewhere. So far, as a business owner, I'm not seeing a solution. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for letting us switch places. I'm here because Amy texted me at noon yesterday and sent me pictures of what had happened, and they were really disturbing. And Amy's message wasn't, look how much this is going to cost me to fix it. It was, look at the danger my employees were put in. And so you all know the chamber. I'm not up here to say, fix this. I'm here to say, how can we help fix this? So if this is a business roundtable, if this is education for our business owners, if this is we need to be more diligent and more vigilant, I don't know what the answer is, but we are willing to help. So we've done a houseless forum before. Maybe it's time to do that again and to get our business owners together and to get their input into it. I know we have our permanent shelter, and I know there was some concern that some of our houseless friends wouldn't make that transition well, and I've heard anecdotally that there are more houseless in the downtown area right now, and maybe that transition hasn't been made as seamlessly as we had hoped. But we are here to help in whatever way we can. Thanks.
Thank you. Man, this thing is intense today. Okay, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. If we can get some slides up. About 6 items to cover with you this evening. Go to the next slide. I'm going to do a quick goals and priorities update around our housing. Over the past 3 years, Beaverton has added approximately 128 affordable housing units because of the Metro Affordable Housing Bond, and we are very excited to welcome the El Monica Station, which of course is bringing much needed affordable housing to our growing region. This is an energy efficient project. It will bring about 81 new affordable housing units near the El Monica Max Station when it opens next summer. We want to give a shout out to Councilor John Duggar, who represented Team Beaverton at last month's groundbreaking ceremony. And also just a special thanks to the people that are behind the scenes at city staff that makes this happen in our housing and development areas. Andy Varner, Tyler Ryerson, Javier Mena, Liz Jones, and Jean Garcia Chitwood. So thank you very much for that. Our next slide, we're going to spotlight the Lombard West redevelopment, which is a top priority within BURA. And for those that aren't familiar with that acronym, BURA is the Beaverton Urban Redevelopment Agency, and we have a strategy that we're implementing. And one of the strategies is to identify ideal locations next to transit that will bring both market and affordable housing, plus commercial to our central core. We have a request for development for qualifications that's currently active. So for those that are interested, you can go to beaverton.oregon.gov/Lombard West and check us out and provide us with your qualifications. Next slide. Few reminders for February. Of course, we've got our advanced metering infrastructure that we're implementing. New water meters that collect data remotely will be installed. It's also a great way to detect leaks and avoid unnecessary charges once you have that technology in place. We will be installing those between now and 2027. The other announcement is that our social services grant funding application process is open now through Friday, March 14th, and grants are awarded through a competitive process. Some of the prioritized projects that we've done in the past addressed homelessness, housing, after-school programs, healthcare, and hunger, just to name a few. And we also want to remind folks of severe weather that can strike at any time. There is a Be 2 Weeks Ready program. It's always a good thing to have enough food and water, medications to last at least 14 days. So if you want to do your 2 weeks ready plan, go to oregon.gov/OEM to find out more. And congratulations to our Be Sober program. That is our Beaverton Sobriety Opportunity for Beginning Recovery. It's been selected by the All Rise Treatment Court Institute. It's one of the top 10 treatment courts in the U.S., Beaverton, of course, to serve as a model for new courts nationwide. This is a tremendous honor and reflects a lot about our program. And for those of you at home that aren't familiar with Be Sober, it's an innovative specialty court model that assists with repeat driving under the influence of intoxicants, or DUII, offenders to recover from alcohol and drug addictions. We've actually had over 175 individuals that have successfully graduated from the program, and actually less than 6% have repeat DUIIs after completing the program, so that's a testament to our treatment courts. Next slide. This is a nice feel-good one. We can move forward and check out two lovely dogs. Those are Rizzo and Toa. They just were retired. They have done collectively 17 years of service to the city of Beaverton, so we wanted to thank them for all of their work and their impressive careers. So happy retirement to both Rizzo and Toa. And the next slide, and the last slide, is our snow response. We actually had a couple of really cool stories that I wanted to share with you. Our Public Works crew, of course, they are up at the crack of dawn getting ready for any type of weather response, and they were busy removing trees, sanding roads, and clearing all of the debris and snow off the roads. And of course, there's a accident there pictured above with that tree leaning, and that was subsequently removed after that. But one of our neat stories that I wanted to share is Officer Amanda Picard took a call from a woman who had to be taken to the hospital on a Thursday night, and she was going to be there for an extended period. Someone asked if we could check on their furry friends. So of course she was out there feeding them and giving them a little bit of exercise. So we want to thank Officer Picard for going out and helping our residents' dogs. And in another incident, a motorist had a dead battery and was unable to get it jump-started. So you can see a picture of one of our officers was able to give him a push to get him needed where he wanted to go, which was great. And during the storm response, we also activated the inclement weather shelter and provided shelter for over 50 people and 5 pets. And not pictured in this slide is a really neat story where the bike team officers located a family that was sleeping in their car near the library on Thursday morning in freezing temperatures. The husband, the wife, an 11-month-old baby, and a baby kitten had driven up from California, were completely out of gas. The officers got these folks a tank of gas and some Starbucks coffee to get warmed up and found some shelter space, and they actually were at the community center. Both baby, dad, and mom and kitten were able to stay and get warm, so that was a very nice story. So special thanks to our city teams in helping keep the community safe, and our comms and our emergency management folks that are often behind the scenes too. Thank you.
Thank you for the update. Sheriff Massey.
Good evening. I'd like to thank you all for giving us the opportunity to just kind of give you a little state of the Sheriff's Office and what we're working on and what we're looking to do over really the course of the next year. I am Caprice Massey, your Washington County Sheriff, and what I want to lead with is just a sentiment that wherever you live, we serve you. The Washington County Sheriff's Office provides the only jail in Washington County, and we provide countywide services to over 616,000 residents. We are your primary responders to rural, urban, unincorporated residents and some of our municipal contract partners like the City of Cornelius, North Plains, Banks, and Gaston. And our goal is to continue to be the safest urban county in the state. Our mission and values, I'll start just a little bit about sheriff. The sheriff is the chief executive officer and the conservator of the peace for the county. Our core values are brilliant to me in their simplicity. Do your best, do the right thing, and treat others the way you want to be treated. They are not only how we ask our staff to show up and how you should expect me to show up, but they are also the last things I say to my daughters when I put them on the bus in the morning to go to school. So they are sincerely what we live and what we embody. Statutory requirements of a sheriff. Of course, I'm sure that you know, the first two are things that we all do, arrest individuals who commit crime and defend the county against those who riot or endanger the public peace. That is what also, your police department provides day in and day out. We also are required statutorily to provide court security for our justice court and for our state courts. We are required to have a search and rescue program. We operate, again, the only county jail, execute civil process and court orders, things like restraining orders, divorce paperwork, eviction notices, things like that. We execute all warrants, process, issue, deny concealed handgun licenses, and enforce the laws on our waterways. So you might often see our boat out on Hag Lake during the summer months. So I think you have all received the Sheriff's Office annual report. I want to lead with an apology because we should have had the 2023 report to you much sooner than we did. We are working really hard to make sure that the 2024 report is in your hands earlier toward the end of this year when we come back. If you would like to review that electronically, you can scan the code on the TV or go to wcsoannualreport.com for anyone in the audience or online. Let's talk a little bit about the jail. I feel like when we come here, it's really important to sort of talk a little bit about where we started over the last few years, where we are now, and where we're going into the future. So our jail maintains custody of criminal offenders sentenced to a term of incarceration of 365 days or less. 365 plus 1, and adults in custody go to prison. Jail opened in 1998, and per capita, when we're fully opened, we are the second smallest jail in the state. However, we currently have 3 housing units closed, making us by far the smallest jail in the state per capita. We currently have 388 available beds. When we came out of COVID, our staffing had decreased to such a significant degree that we had to go ahead and not open up the 3 housing units that we had closed due to social distancing requirements in a congregate care facility. So over the course of the last year plus, we have kept those housing units closed while we have increased our retention, recruitment, and hiring strategies to make sure that we can get back to fully staffed. As timing would have it, we are undergoing some significant infrastructure repairs to the entire facility. We are getting a new roof, all new HVAC, new hot, cold water piping throughout the facility. And as a result, also fire alarm panel and device replacements. We've had some significant failures with those recently. And as a result, they're scheduled to be completed in about June of 26. So what we will be doing, although our staffing is looking better, we will maintain at least 2 of those housing units closed at a time so that they can repair the roof, do all of that HVAC and piping infrastructure in those 2 housing units, and then we will, when they're done, we'll move 2 housing units full of adults in custody down there and do 2 more and make it happen over the course of the next year and a few months, incrementally through the facility. One thing I do want to highlight, though, as it relates to the jail, is that I kind of led with the devastating impacts that we had from staffing and people leaving during COVID. Currently, we are, due to a lot of hard work and retention efforts, but also sort of shortening our hiring and really getting some partnership throughout the county, we have 21 jail deputies in training in various stages of their training right now. And I want to sort of celebrate that your Beaverton Police Department has been an extraordinary partner in helping get our jail staffed, which you might not think is something that they're involved in, but when they have people who are not successful in their field training, oftentimes the reasons they're not successful are things like geography or, overwhelming, driving fast, lights, sirens, and all of those things combined, where when they're in the jail, they can learn some of those things in a little more controlled environment and get that basic foundation of listening to the radio, responding on foot, stuff like that. So they are contacting us and working with us to do a really warm handoff of those folks that aren't successful here, not for things like officer safety or character-based reasons, but some things where they could learn in a less stressful environment. And we're doing that warm handoff and trying to get them through our hiring process seamlessly because you've already done the hard work here. And that's actually been incredibly beneficial, and it has worked to help us actually get people online. And it not only helps us get the jail going so that people out on the road can bring people to jail, it also really honors the employee who has great character and is going to be really solid in an environment of public safety, and honors them and getting them employed straight away. So hopefully we can minimize that break. Yeah, so I want to say thank you. It's been a really incredible partnership. Under Sheriff Cook.
Good evening. My name is John Cook. I'm the Undersheriff here in Washington County. I'm going to talk about some of our interagency teams. We are very fortunate here in Washington County. The county and the city governments, we all work so well together. That's also seen in our police departments and the sheriff's office. Chief Jepson is a great partner, not only to the sheriff's office, but across all of Washington County, and her team play an important role in public safety across Washington County. So we'll talk about some of those areas. Policing has become increasingly difficult and complex over the last several years. Some of the equipment, training, tactics that are utilized are very specialized. And by us pulling our resources together, all of the agencies across Washington County, we're able to provide a constant and professional service to all community members. We'll talk about a couple of those examples. The first one is the mental health response team. I know you all have heard about this. This team has been around since 2011. We started with one team with a deputy, a mental health clinician from LifeWorks Northwest in partnership with Washington County Behavioral Health. We saw the success in getting services to people that are in crisis out in the community immediately. This team has grown to 8 teams across the county. Beaverton has a team, Hillsborough has, when I say a team, it's an officer and a mental health clinician. Hillsborough has a team, South County has a team, and then we have 4 sheriff's deputies that are full-time doing this. In addition, we have several deputies that are backups, so if the deputy or officer calls in sick, we have somebody to backfill in with a clinician. These teams provide service across all of Washington County, and the benefit by providing those pooled resources, if one team is tied up, for example, in the city of Beaverton, and a second call comes in, the sheriff's office team can step in and help out. The same thing for us. If one of our teams is tied up and the Beaverton team is free, they're able to roll over and assist. And so we see that seamless service by pulling our resources together. Right now, with the 8 teams, we staff them during our peak hours, which are really about 8 in the morning till about 11 or 12 at night. And during those off hours, there are clinicians that are on call. Washington County Behavioral Health has a crisis team that has the same LifeWorks clinicians that are able to respond after hours during those peak or those non-peak times to provide service to assist our deputies and officers out in the field getting that service to community members that are in crisis at that point in time. Next thing we're going to talk about is the Westside Interagency Narcotics Team. This is our drug task force here in Washington County. It's made up of members from the Sheriff's Office, Beaverton Police, Hillsborough Police, the FBI, the National Guard. DEA has been part of that team, some of our other local municipal partners. Really what this team is focused on is large narcotics trafficking across Washington County. We have really seen Washington County become a hub for a lot of drug trafficking. Things coming up I-5, landing here. This particular case, you see 1.4 metric tons of liquid heroin that was destined here for Washington County. This team is seizing hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine on a regular basis. They're seizing hundreds of thousands of fentanyl pills. Really focusing on those most dangerous drugs. When we talk about one pill can kill, a couple years ago the team seized 750,000 pills. How many lives were saved is really difficult to measure, but we know they're saving lives by doing what they're doing, stopping those drugs from coming into our neighborhoods, getting into our schools, impacting our families and kids. In addition to that, most of our police officers and deputies across the county carry Narcan. They are really the first responders when it comes to these crises. Because our police officers and deputies are patrolling the neighborhoods, they're often there before fire and medical with Narcan, and they're able to deploy those for people that are in overdose situations. We also track those Narcan deployments across the county. We have seen those numbers going down, which does not mean there's less fentanyl or opioids or heroin out there. What it means is we're doing a better job of getting Narcan out into community members' hands. And so a lot of times substance abuse users, people with addiction, will carry the Narcan and be able to have it to help deploy to their family and friends as well. So although we're seeing our deployments go down in law enforcement, public safety, there's still a lot of that out in the community to provide the support. The next group of teams we're going to talk about kind of in a conglomerate. It's our tactical negotiations team, which is our traditional SWAT team, our crisis negotiations unit, which is a hostage negotiation team, a remotely operated vehicle team, which is robots and drones, and then an incident management team that provides overhead to a lot of these situations. It's unknown to most members of Washington County, but the SWAT team, the tactical team, deploys over 100 times a year. And we don't hear about that because by us pooling our resources together, the cities and the county, we're able to have highly trained officers and deputies that have very great gear and training, and they're able to bring an escalation of safety to these very dangerous situations. When we have people in the community with weapons that are causing harm to other folks, these teams are able to come in, slow down the situation, bring calm to the chaos, and really help de-escalate those. And so it seems counterintuitive to a lot of community members, but really by having these highly trained professionals, they're able to help de-escalate these situations in our neighborhood, and so we don't generally hear about them. Back with you, Sheriff.
All right, so looking forward. We are engaged with a contract, a vendor, to do a jail capacity study to try to assess what we might need for a county jail through about 2055. And so we are hoping that by the end of this month, maybe into March, we should have a sense back, a report from them on what we might need for bed space, given the fact that we are also dealing with a drastically different adult in custody than we were when this jail opened. The fragility of the adult in custody that we are caring for now is so much different than it used to be. The mental health disorder, the substance use, just the age, frankly, and so, and the complex medical concerns. And so they are going to be looking at what we might need, ensuring that we are providing that next level service for the fragile human that we are engaging with going forward. Some of that needs to include those extraordinary transition services, for instance, so that people are prepared when they transition from jail into the community. They have those services already in place, hopefully giving them a better ability to be successful upon reentry. One of the facility updates that I want to touch on that I didn't touch on originally is that while these huge infrastructure repairs are happening, we are also building another courtroom in our law enforcement center. So we will be, the county was given another judge from the state, so there's another Washington County judge that's been in place but does not have a home. They're taking our jail administration area and building a courtroom, which displaced jail staff over to patrol. Now they're just living together in tiny little spaces while we try to get a sense for what the future holds. So that will not be done until later this year, and so we are in the midst of a ton of construction in our law enforcement center. And then this November, you will see the public safety local option levy on the ballot. So we are also engaged in making sure that we are working with our board and with all of our county stakeholders and the sort of justice ecosystem partners to assess what will be needed for our service delivery into the future and get prepared to be able to communicate that to our community in a way that is meaningful and really sort of highlights the services that we all provide. With that, what questions do you have for us?
Thank you for the presentation this evening, Sheriff and Undersheriff. I'll kick it off with just a thanks for coming and talking with us and sharing what you guys are doing. I do have two questions. Yep. Since I've been the mayor, I've heard consistently about lack of jail space and lack of court space and the actual physical building not being up to standard. So in your review, is it taking all of that into account?
It is. It is taking all of that into account. And simultaneously, we are working with the county to identify space that might help us grow outside of that one building. Because frankly, the building that we have now, the building that was built in 1998, is no longer, it no longer matches the size of our organization and our mission. And so while we're repairing this building, we also have to be looking for something that can help us grow in the way that we need to. For instance, co-locating our patrol division, taking maybe, these are ideas, from East Precinct and the headquarters there in the law enforcement center, and putting them in a space that is independent of the law enforcement center, allowing for jail staff to have the space they need to grow and potentially build additional for what we're going to need by 2055.
So is this in the county's building master plan? Is it the county's responsibility then to help you guys fund and build and operate this center?
It is.
Okay.
And these are just conversations we're just now starting as we enter this my role with the sheriff's office, but there are conversations that have happened going back as far as the previous board. But they've been incredibly supportive, I will say, because the critical infrastructure repairs that we're doing now are only happening because the board was willing to invest funds to make that happen, and they had to find them.
Yep. we're going through similar problems because it's never sexy to take money from your budget and maintain buildings when there's services that need to be done, and it's a constant
Right.
struggle.
Yes.
I would say that there's a future conversation I think that we need to have around the boundaries. I mean, you guys are responding all the way through Beaverton into West Slope area, which it doesn't make sense for you to do that. You are operating within the greater Beaverton area because of the pockets of unincorporated. And so I do think we need to have a future conversation about some kind of MOU when all of the police and sheriff departments in the region are facing shortages of staff. Is there a way for us to better utilize our resources? And I would say that the building that you guys own on Murray is woefully underused, and I have been talking to the county administrator as long as I've been the mayor about what we can do with that building together. I also think as we're looking at space, it's important for all levels of government to be talking together. And if you do something on the boundaries, we are also looking for space for public works. We are looking for space for our police to not operate out of one building. So please, as you guys continue these conversations, include us in those future conversations as well.
Love that.
And especially, we don't want to pay for it if the county's willing to do it. We will take all of that for free. Counselor Tipton.
I amended it in the chat. You'd asked the question I was going to ask, so.
Counselor Hassan.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. 2 questions or comments. What I thought I heard you talking about with the jail capacity study was like a desire to, and tell me if I'm like mishearing.
Sure.
Create more services within that space or redesign that space? Like, that's kind of what I was hearing, but if I misheard, help me. If you
Really
could
what it
clarify.
is getting someone who does this sort of as a subject matter expert in what we might need for a jail based off of our population size and population assessments going forward in the future, what we would need for the whole thing. Bed space. How many beds would we need through 2055? What kinds of services are we utilizing now that we know we're going to need to expand into the future? How many staff would that take? And then once we get that back, then it's a separate conversation to go, okay, so how? How do we do that? Do we build up? Do we, what does that look like? What footprint do we have that we could have access to? And then, of course, ultimately it's, and how might we pay for it? And so, but this is the beginning stage on the what will we need based off population guesses, basically, into the future.
Do you see some relief coming with the CATT coming soon, or is that fairly unrelated in your opinion?
It's not unrelated. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I think they really help each other.
Yeah.
I think that when we have people come into our custody and care, and then they transition back to community, the CAT Center is going to really help those individuals keep that continuity of care as they transition back into the community. Also, those folks that are getting services from the CAT and then come into our custody and care, again, we're going to be able to have that kind of handoff to make sure that they continue to get the substance treatment that they need.
Thank you. Because we did have someone share about vandalism in the community, and I'm so sorry to hear that. Do you have any thoughts on that? I'm just curious because you're here, and I feel like I have this opportunity to ask you.
No, that's okay. It's actually, it's kind of related to this grant that we received at the county, and the DA and I have been sort of partnering and talking about, which relates to theft and organized retail theft generally. However, part of that grant allows for, especially small businesses, but small, medium-sized businesses, to utilize grant funding to get better, more holistic camera devices to provide that, and sort of put signage in their windows and things like that, and lighting, cameras, signage, and that is a way to help, local businesses really at least make it more risky for people to cause damage. And while it might not be directly related to vandalism, it certainly, I have to believe, would positively impact that.
Okay. Thank you. Last 2 questions. Thank you for. I lost it. Oh, I know. Okay. So the mayor talked about unincorporated, right? To the average human, everyone in this room, right? They may or may not live in the city limits. They may live in unincorporated. how does that look like to the community? I know it looks the same, but is there anything different in terms of like, I call, I need help? Just if you could explain from the community side. I feel like I get this question a lot, and you're here, and
Perfect. John?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So most community members will see a seamless service across Washington County. So like the mayor talked about, different pockets. There's pockets, we'll take a little area of Canyon Lane. If something happens up there, there's deputies around that area. If a Beaverton officer is tied up someplace else in the county and a 911 calls in, we have what's called AVL, which is Automated Vehicle Locator. The closest unit will respond to that and manage that scene until the primary agency that is responsible for that can come in and handle the call. And we see that kind of service across all of Washington County. If a Beaverton officer is driving through Aloha and a call for service comes out, they could be the first responder to that until the deputy is cleared to come and assist that. So community members, when they call 911, it goes into the same dispatch center. They triage those calls to our different jurisdictions, but then if it's a priority call for service, they're going to send the closest unit, whether they're Beaverton, Hillsborough, Tigard, or the sheriff's office.
okay, so my family who lives in Incorporated, which pays less taxes than me, still gets the same level of service.
Yes.
Just want to put that on the record. Okay, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I'm
Yes,
not.
and that's a
it's not
great
a
question
dig.
because
That's a
we
really
have,
good question.
in our Enhanced Sheriff's Patrol District, for example, we have urban levels of police service in there. There's about 210,000 people that live in those areas of Aloha, Bethany,
Yeah.
Raleigh Hills, Cedar Mill. And so a lot of those folks may have a Portland or Beaverton address, and they're not sure who their service provider is. But the reality is, when they call 911, they will get
They'll
a
get
car
service.
there.
Okay, last question. The public safety levy is happening, correct?
It is happening, yes.
Okay, so I imagine eventually you'll want, is it council support, or will you be doing individual?
Yes and yes,
Okay,
all of that.
okay. I mean, I'd have more questions, but I'm going to
Nope.
let the others go.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's great.
Counselor Duggar.
I have a couple questions. I didn't see, what's our detox situation? Because I know before COVID, we would send folks to Portland, and that's no longer an option. So, like, and is that part of the plan to, if there is a gap, to fix that?
Yeah, so the Center for Addiction Treatment and Triage, the
Yes.
CAT Center, that's going to be
That's
coming
what that's
online,
gonna be.
will have that short-term sobering center. In the meantime, if our police officers or deputies come across somebody that is unable to care for themselves due to their level of intoxication, we can take them to a local hospital and get them care.
Okay, so there are at least some options
Oh, yes.
available right
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
What
there
we
are.
don't want to have happen is we do not want people with substance abuse issues, and that is their sole issue, to go to the Washington County Jail. That's not where they need. They need to be in a medical care facility or a detox center that can provide them the assistance they
And
need.
then I think about, some of our small businesses are on the brunt of poor decisions made by perhaps people under the influence of various things. So, okay. And then my second question is a little bit more, is the November, is that an operating levy or is that a CapEx?
Levy?
Yeah, so this is a countywide operating levy that covers a lot of our criminal justice system, ecosystem. The DA's office, the juvenile department, community corrections, and the sheriff's office and the jail, our sheriff's office patrols, and those countywide teams, and the jail are funded partially out of that public safety local option levy that's been around for about 20 years. And so this is a continuation of that service, just to be able to provide that countywide service.
Okay, yeah, because I want to make sure we're communicating that really well, because Beaverton residents think, well, we pay for the Beaverton Police Department, we don't want to subsidize
Sure.
the unincorporated areas anymore, so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I do think it's an important nuance that if you live in the unincorporated area, you pay a separate tax for the sheriff that is for them for patrolling. But like the sheriff and undersheriff both said, like a lot of times it's our officers that take the call until a sheriff could come take it off of their hands. But my point was, it's a lot of miles being driven from, across into Canyon Lane and some of these other areas. But they do pay their own levy as well, and so I think it is a nuanced difference, but it is about countywide services versus we're not paying a fee in Beaverton to patrol Bethany and Aloha.
Right.
Counselor Teeter?
Yeah, thank you both for being here. I'll make this quick since you've touched on it a little bit already. I was glad to hear some comments about the Center for Addiction Triage and Treatment. I think that'll be really important and really meaningful moving forward.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm really excited. And the second point is with regards to business safety and kind of proactive safety improvements. I think this might be a plug for Chamber and City as well, but I think you were talking a little bit about crime prevention through environmental design, and it feels like an opportunity for some like business trainings or community trainings about how they can design their own sites and support each other. So just kind of a thought.
That's something our police department offers and does quite regularly. And so, yeah, it is something that a lot of businesses take advantage of. I've been with I was going to say sheriff, but I've been with our police chief talking to businesses about this. So perhaps we could do a write-up that we can send out through the chamber that the service is available. No offense, but these aren't the guys to do it for our business. I mean, unless you want to, come have coffee with us. So. Well, thank you for joining us this evening. That's the end, and you got off pretty easy, in my opinion, so.
Love it.
Have a good afternoon.
All right.
Evening. All right, Council President, consent agenda, please.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Councilor Hassan. Any discussion on tonight's motion? Right, seeing none, will the recorder please call the roll?
Councilor Duggar?
Yes.
Councilor Hartmeyer Prigg?
Yes.
Councilor Hassan?
Yes.
Councilor Kimmy?
Yes.
Councilor, sorry, trifocals. Councilor Teeter?
Yes.
Councilor Tivnon?
Yes.
Mayor Beatty?
Yes.
7-0.
All right, the next item on the agenda is a public hearing to consider adoption of a resolution that implements a new tiered water rate structure. I'll ask the city attorney to explain how people can participate in this hearing.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Anyone wishing to speak at this hearing should follow the instructions included on tonight's agenda. For those attending in person, please fill out a yellow comment card found on the table near the doors at the back of the chambers. Once the card is filled out, give the card to the city recorder sitting at the end of the dais and wait to be called. Each member of the public who speaks at tonight's hearing will have 2 or 3 minutes to speak as determined by the presiding officer, the mayor. When you speak, please give your name and city of residence for record. After each person's comments, council members may ask questions of the person speaking. When all public comment has concluded, council members may ask the city attorney or staff any questions helpful to their decision regarding the proposed resolution. Thank you.
Is there a staff presentation?
Yes, very brief. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Susan Cole. I'm the Assistant Director for the city's Finance Department. Before you tonight is a resolution to implement a new rate structure for the city's water utility designed to recover the costs of providing water to the various customer classes and including tiered rates for the single-family residential customer class. This comes to you after 2 work sessions to consider the water utility rate structure, including tiered rates, and outreach to the city's boards and commissions. Additionally, a postcard was mailed to customers notifying them of the potential rate change and also notifying them of this public hearing. And staff have fielded questions and comments from utility customers regarding tiered rates, asking staff how tiered rates might affect them, to which our staff have answered them. The city also designed a special web page for the proposed water rates with detailed information about the water rate change, including a bill calculator to help customers understand their bill in the event that the tiered rate proposal passes. And so with that, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions or yield to the public hearing.
Questions from the council? Councilor Hartmeyer Prigg.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. I'm curious can we see what type of usage from the community happened on the rate calculator? Like, did we see good engagement on the site after that was posted and the mailer went out?
I do not know.
Okay, that's okay.
I'm sure we could do that research, but it went up very recently.
Okay, thank you. The nature of my question is also that, council's objective in requesting the tiered rate structure was to ensure affordability. And so I was also curious, if someone were to have gone to the site and put in those things, right, would they have been able to have seen that, right, or do a compare?
Yes,
so just curious.
It would calculate based on the tiered rates, so they would have had their current bill in front of them in order to do the comparison. It would not necessarily compare to the current. It would just calculate to the tiers.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from the council? Okay, I will now open the public hearing. City Recorder has given me a list of people that have signed up to testify. Is there any additional names to be considered? Okay. We will start by saying you have 2 minutes to address the council. Ben Walker, you'll be up first. Annette, you're on deck. And Jennifer, you are also on deck. Ben Walker. Annette Perrin, please.
Thank you for letting me speak. I just had a couple of
Can you
questions.
just pull the microphone close to you so we can hear you? Perfect, thank you.
Anyway, thank you for letting me speak, and I just have a couple of questions about the tiered water rates. And it's my understanding that it is 3 tiers, homeowners, individual, and I don't understand, like, the second tier is that apartments and condos, and then the third tier is businesses, or that's kind of my understanding of it. And so I was wondering why we're going to the tiered service. Is it easier for the city, better for the, occupants? I don't understand. And for the tiered rates, do we have set increases for the next few years, 3 years, 5 years? So that was my next question. And that's it. That's all I
Thank you.
have. Thank you.
Jennifer Kemfart, sorry, and then Dwayne Harthaway, you're on deck. Jennifer? Dwayne? Marilyn? Please.
Is it okay if I stand?
Sure, if that makes you more comfortable.
Thank you. I'm Marilyn Melvin, resident of Beaverton for over 40 years, and I'm grateful for safe, healthy, and accessible water. I'm also grateful for our new copper water lines that we had put in 2018 by the city. My concern here today is twofold. First is water quality, and the second is availability to be able to afford the new water rates in the summertime when I have a garden that provides food for myself and my family. When our water lines were upgraded in 2018, there were activities installing digital smart meters. Since I had serious health issues from the original introduction of fluoride to the water several years before that, and also the smart meter that was put on the side of our house, I was concerned about having a smart meter put on the water line as well. I talked to the project manager in our neighborhood, and it was okay to keep the analog meter that we had. Only recently did I notice that it has been replaced with a digital meter. That is a concern for me, because I basically, with my health issues, after adding fluoride to the city water, I grew up with fluoride in the Midwest. And since I was a young child, and I had health issues that really took me down. And I am concerned about the combination of the digital radio waves on the water line in conjunction with fluoride. This sounds like there's a liability thing, that we're getting medicinally exposed to treatment. Where is the liability for this combination of exposures, environmental exposures? Unless the city of Beaverton can prove that there are no negative side effects with using man-made radio waves with the current dosing of fluoride on our city water lines, I do not consent to this water treatment or water experiment. This is my constitutional right.
Thank you for joining us. You are over time, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I trust that you will take the right actions.
Thank you. Aisha?
Good evening. I'm Aisha Panis. I'm here representing Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District, and I have a couple of comments to share with you. I did provide some written testimony, so you should have access to that. But I wanted to share that we are concerned about the significant increase in water rates and how that will impact our already strained operating budget, which might impact our ability to maintain service to the greater Beaverton area. Last year, we spent roughly $600,000 on water costs, and we have over 90, I think, accounts across all the different parks and facilities that we provide. And these are largely falling into, we believe, the irrigation or public facility category. And we believe that these increased costs could lead to some challenges for us in maintaining our spaces. We've worked with the city on a variety of challenges, from supporting urban renewal, which resulted in foregoing about $650,000 in this year, and also working to deliver waivers for affordable housing to the tune of $2.5 million, 68% of which were granted within the city of Beaverton, including one of the projects highlighted here tonight, and so about $1.7 million of waivers within the city. And we made those choices to offer those waivers and to be a part of the solution regarding BURA because we wanted to help deliver on community promises. So tonight, on behalf of my agency, we're asking you for the same spirit of collaboration. We want to understand this a little bit better. We've only just been brought into the conversation about these changes, and it appears that that new rate structure is truly going to have a significant impact on our budget. It appears that users such as us and perhaps maybe the Beaverton School District, which also is a public provider of areas that are highly irrigated, that they are also going to be facing some higher rates due to that public facility rate category. And so this is something that we just want to better understand. Why would public facilities pay more than other institutions, especially when we provide parks, community centers, and schools that exist to serve the public? The quality of our parks, fields, school grounds, and community centers impacts the quality of life for the city. And we share the financial commitment for Beaverton's need to redevelop its downtown or incentivize more affordable housing, but shouldn't we also consider the shared benefit of maintaining essential public spaces? We understand balancing a budget has become extremely hard. We also understand that the actions that one agency takes can have significant impacts on other agencies. And we would ask that before you adopt new water rates that greatly increase the expense of operating public facilities, particularly for THPRD and other public providers, that the city consider, one, meeting with and discussing with their public agency providers such as THPRD, Beaverton School District, the proposed rates and methodology behind the public facility rate, and also consider a public facility rate that offers appropriate consideration for public use.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this evening. Yi Yin, it looks like you are joining us online and not in person, so staff has, oh, you're here, okay.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of the I've been a resident for 20 years. I moved to Oregon in 2005, and this is the first time for me to come over to the public hearing. I come over here, I don't want to waste everybody's time. I just want to focus on the issue. I have some problem with the water bill. I keep quiet for quite a long time, but it's going to a certain level that I can no longer keep quiet. Well, first, there are several issues. First, if you look at the web page of the Beaverton utility, you will find that it will say your water bill, actually including the investment in the next 10 years infrastructure of the water facility, water utility. So my question is, okay, the tax dollar is just for the public service, for example, like road construction, bridges. The water utility should be part of the, it should be funded by the tax dollar. Why should we pay the bill to make an investment to the facility? I mean, it's the definition of, a tax dollar. It's just dedicated to public purpose, right? So why should we pay, our water bill should be part of that investment? That's my first question. Second is, if you look at the water bill structure, the usage itself is only a small portion of the, low percentage of the entire bill. So that means smaller household, is paying virtually the same amount, or is it slightly less than a much larger household, which I think is not fair. I've been, in the past, I've never say anything. It's been going on for a long time. It's, the water bill right now is like, on average, I had a month away from home. I was out of the country, and I want to come back. And when I look at the bill, it's like $100. And I just feel like it's not fair, And also my friends in Southern California is suffering the drought, and they're using the water from Oregon. You know how much they pay, for average household? My friends who have a four-person household, they pay like $80 to $100. For my household, I'm a single guy, paying like $130 to $160 a month. I think there's something wrong. We need to invest, to find out what went wrong.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're over, and I courtesy of let everyone go over tonight.
Okay.
But thank you for
Yeah,
joining
yeah,
us this
Thank you
evening.
for letting me to speak.
No problem. Okay, council, are there any questions? Oh, sorry. Yeah, Brandon Roberts, are you with us this evening? He's online? Okay. Brandon, you've been given permission to speak. You'll have 2 minutes to address us.
Wonderful. Good evening, council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. My name is Brandon Roberts. I'm from Beaverton. I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight regarding the proposed water rate adjustments. I support the implementation of a tiered rate structure for single-family residential customers as it promotes water conservation. However, I have serious concerns that the current proposal does not equitably source revenue from all customer classes and relies on inaccurate or incomplete data. First, I believe base rates should be more equitably distributed. Current and proposed rates disproportionately allocate cost to smaller meters, primarily used by single-family residential customers. Our city's SDCs correctly allocate costs based on the meter's capacity, procurement, installation, and maintenance costs following the American Water Works Association standards. The proposed rates fail to reflect this same principle. Large meters should bear a greater cost of fixed costs, reducing the financial burden on smaller meter customers. This adjustment would increase the city's fixed revenue percentage, aligning with its goal to reduce consumption through tiered pricing while maintaining a stable water system. For my calculations, the Block 1 or the lowest rate tier for base residential demand could be as low as $4.25 and not $5 if larger meters paid for a proportionate fixed charges. That's a 10% savings compared to the current proposal, while still meeting the city's revenue goals. Second, I don't believe the city's finance department is equipped to implement these changes accurately. Inconsistent data was provided by the finance department for the recent water study, which seems to have left out the 6-inch meters for fire line services. It's impossible in June 2023 that there is only 11, given that these serve multifamily and commercial buildings. That would further disproportionately impact single-family residences by failing to account for these in the multifamily and commercial lines. I also challenge you to review the billing software to make sure that it can even handle these tiered rates, customer classes, or future expansion to pressure zone-based rates. Just because the city is wanting to effect these rates does not mean the city can properly do that and charge their customers with proper monitoring. I see I'm over time, but thank you. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, looks like there's no more speakers, so I'm going to close tonight's public hearing. What's the pleasure of the council? We need a motion to get into discussion and deliberation. Would someone like to make a motion? Page 7.
I move that the council adopt Resolution 4906 embodied in the Agenda Bill 25027 entitled "A Resolution Establishing the Water Consumption Rates and Meter Charges and Repealing Resolution Number 4854."
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. So for those watching, now we will enter comments and deliberation on the motion. I will go first. Tonight, I am prepared to vote no. I think that there has not been enough understanding of how this impacts the community. I've asked questions along the way. I think that there is also an issue with billing that still exists that I don't feel very confident that staff has answered over the summer. Water bills, my own included, have been double at times and then drop down again. And I think we don't have a great grasp on maintaining our water right now. I think it was compelling to hear from Aisha from the Parks District. Our number one asset is THPRD. The amount of field space, the amount, and it impacts the school district. Their parks and facilities are co-located. And to pass a fee to our special district that would increase their operating fee right now seems irresponsible given the economy of where we are. So tonight I am prepared to vote no on the motion. Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg.
Thank you, Mayor. I think you could probably all feel the hesitation. Public comment is so important to this process for us, so I want to just thank everyone for sending in your comments and for speaking with us. The nature of our goal here is to keep water rates affordable, and I think we're hearing a lot that the impact is unfortunately maybe not coming to fruition. I think that I share your concerns, Mayor Beatty. The other thing is we had a work session scheduled around the billing issue, and that night our meeting went till I think 11 or 11:30 p.m. and we postponed it and we haven't rescheduled yet. And so I do think it would be premature to adopt the rate schedule without circling back on that conversation.
Okay. Councilor Teeter.
Yeah, I would be prepared to vote yes tonight. We as a council have had several conversations about this process, and I feel comfortable with where we've been throughout this process. We've talked a lot about this tiered rate structure as a way to provide customers a way to save costs on their water bills by using less water. They're incentivized to conserve water, incentivized to reduce costs. We know that looking forward the next several years, we're looking at rate increases each year to pay for the infrastructure that the city's built over the past several years and plans to continue building as we keep growing. We don't have a way around these rate increases, so these tiered rates are meant to be a source of relief for especially our residential users. It's meant to balance those rates that different users are paying. I do have some concern about our impact on our governmental partners. So I would like more information on that, but as of right now, I'm ready to vote yes on this tonight.
Councilor Tivenon.
I'm feeling pretty comfortable where we're going with the tiers, the conversation so far. I think we're working our way in the direction that we want to go. That's going to get us to the place where we're keeping it as affordable as possible for the people that need that the most. But that being said, this was the first time we heard from THPRD that I know of, and didn't even take Beaverton School District into account. And so that opens up a can of worms, and I feel like that's a pretty shaded, shadowy area we haven't had a chance to really explore together. So I'd say let's pump the brakes on this, listen to what we're hearing tonight, and revisit it together with that as a part of the greater picture of things before we make a decision.
Councilor Husson.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. For everyone listening, I was prepared to vote yes. I'm still prepared to vote yes. While I understand the burden that this has, our staff has been working really hard in keeping us informed throughout this process, and I've felt very informed as we've moved toward this decision. I have great pause that we're hearing from one of our governmental partners today, and not sooner. So I'm very conflicted, and I'm being out loud and honest with you all in my conflict. I feel like staff's worked really hard. We've been giving a lot of direction around this, and I think we were moving, if I remember correctly, the question was, do we have the political courage to move this forward? I'd like to see us try. I understand that there are some partners that we didn't bring along. I hope that's just a note for our leadership for the future to keep thinking about. Okay. So I'm prepared to vote yes, but I understand where the struggles are, and I do think like staff really hard to get this where it's at. So thanks.
Councillor Duggar.
Yeah, thanks. I think, man, this is a tough one because I think about maybe 2 years ago, you and I were adamant that we needed a tiered structure because for the members of the community, I'm going to be romantic and think there's tons of people watching this. They're probably not, but
they're definitely not.
They might be. But there's a decade worth of rate increases baked in, and there's nothing we can do about that as far as like the money is spent as far as building the infrastructure underground, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to support that. Now, how we structure those rate increases is within our realm. And so I do remember a couple years ago, Councilor Harmeyer Prigg and I, and certainly other colleagues were really concerned about the impact of this. And one of the solutions to that impact was a tiered rate structure. We were like, we need, if people choose to use less water, we should have an option for their bill to either stay the same or go down, right? If they use less, and that was not the case in the existing, it just as a flat rate goes up every year. And so I think I'm 100% in agreement with a tiered rate structure. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. I think I'm comfortable with a pause though, because hearing from THPRD, hearing from, wanting to hear from BSD, and then hearing from some of the neighbors, the concerns they have, I think maybe we do need to pump the brakes a little bit and address some of these, and to your point, like have a conversation in the work session that we didn't have. I don't think a few months is gonna hurt this as far as like, but I do think if we get it wrong, it could hurt this, so I'm okay with stopping temporarily while we fix this. I do have questions and concerns on like, does that mean the rates stay the same in the interim, I'm assuming? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so I can support a pause on this for a few months while we figure this out and really address some of these. I would like to see us communicate better. I noticed on Reddit, there's a ton of comments and most of them were either outright wrong or they were misconstruing some of the motion behind this. Like, we want this as affordability option. We pay these rates as well, so we want to make sure that we're building this sustainably, and I think we need a comms plan, and I'm going to ask and push really hard for that as well, that we communicate this, not just a postcard out and let people know that they can pay attention to a 2-hour meeting, but like maybe explaining a little bit more. So I think that's it for my comments.
Councillor Kimmy.
Yeah, so I'll be voting no today just because of all the comments Councilor Duggar and others made. Tiered rate is based on trying to save people money in a sense, but rates will have to eventually go up anyways. So it depends on tiered or flat. But I'm hesitant to vote yes today, right? Because I get the impression that we didn't communicate really well with our partners, BSD, THPRD, and others. So maybe a little bit more communication, I think is beneficial. And I think once everybody hears the full spectrum, then they'll understand and come along. So I'll be voting no today.
Okay. Just to be clear, though, like, this is not a pause. This is a public hearing, so we are voting no. We can instruct staff to bring it back, but this isn't like we're staying the meeting over for a future unknown time. I do want to say, like, this is not, yes, staff worked very hard on this. This is not diminishing staff's work, but that doesn't mean that we vote yes because staff work really hard on things. Like, two things can be true at the same time. Staff can work very hard, and we're the policymakers that have to make tough decisions. And what we're hearing is not all the information is what we need to make tonight's decision. Particularly, I think when we talk about tiered rates, that we think there's some boogeyman house out there that's using 10,000 gallons of water and nobody else is using anything. And if that person pays more, everyone else gets to pay less. Some of our biggest users are our park district, are our school district. They're not over consuming water resources. And so, and tiered rates mean we have to still make the pie whole. We're just shifting the burden around in the pie that we're baking. So I don't think that there are winners and losers. I think it's about trying to get to the right decision and where we're at. And if we pass the water rates on to the district, they will pass the rates on to our community. So we have to be very diligent about how we move forward in the next couple of months. So I do think we'll take the vote now, City Recorder, but I do want to I want to thank staff for the work. And sometimes our votes as individual electives are reflective of where we are right now. What? Oh.
Yeah, I hear you all, and that's fine. I do think this is the moment. Wouldn't this be the moment to give the direction to staff on what you would want to get you to a yes in the future? So I understand that that there are some concerns, and I respect everyone's perspective. For the sake of clarity to staff, is there anything specific you guys think you want to share now so that staff can hear that? And I don't know if staff or Jenny have
Councilor
any
Husson,
comments.
this is not the time for that. If we want to direct the council, if we want to direct the work to come back, then that's where we would include all of that. But there's no stance of getting that, like, this isn't a barter session with the staff to get to yes.
I'm not looking to barter. I'm trying to understand where folks are so that we could give that direction to staff. If this isn't the place, correct me, but I think I'm just trying to make sure we have given staff clarity so that they know what's expected.
Yeah, it's not the place, but when we redirect staff to come back, that's where all of our input will be. Tonight's vote is whether or not we're going to pass the tiered water rate or not.
Okay. Councilor Duggar?
No.
Councilor Hartmeyer Prigg?
No.
Councilor Husson?
Yes.
Councilor Kimmy?
No.
Councilor Teeter?
Yes.
Councilor Tivnon?
No.
Mayor Beatty?
No.
2 yes, 5 no.
All right. All right, we are on to our 2 work sessions. We have Agenda Bill 25028, Transportation System Plan, Vision, Goal, and Objective. I don't know who's leading this conversation. It used to be on these things, it would tell us who it is, so you'll have to just introduce yourself and everyone that's with you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, councilors. My name is Jessica Engelman. I am a senior planner and the project manager for the Go Beaverton Transportation System Plan Update. I'm joined by Brian Martin, the Long Range Planning Manager. And we're here tonight to talk with you about a vision and a set of goals for Beaverton's transportation system. I'm going to start us off with a short presentation, and then we look forward to hearing from you. There are 2 questions we'd like to hear your thoughts on tonight. The first is, are you comfortable with the project moving forward with the vision, goals, objectives, and strategic lenses presented here tonight? And do you have any comments or questions? There are several reasons to update Beaverton's transportation system plan. The first reason is that the plan is dated. It's a long-range plan with a 20-year time horizon, and it's been 15 years since we last updated it. Long-range plans guide everyday decisions and investments, so it's important to keep it relevant and meeting the needs of our community. Transportation touches on several aspects of people's lives. As a result, it's also connected to achieving all of Council's goals. This is sometimes in ways that are obvious, like providing quality infrastructure, and sometimes in ways that might be less obvious, like how investments in housing can affect the transportation options that people have available to them. The other thing we know, based on the past 15 years of public comment and recent engagement efforts, is that folks aren't completely satisfied with the transportation options that they have. And there is some frustration about not seeing outcomes different from those of the past. Finally, from a regulatory perspective, the city needs to conform to Oregon's transportation planning rules. All TSPs need to do this, and the state updated the transportation planning rules in 2022, so Beaverton must bring its plan into conformance with them. Looking at where we're at in the project, we're at the front end of the planning process, where we need to establish a vision and set of goals and objectives. From here, we'll move on to analyzing the existing conditions of Beaverton's transportation system, including inventorying and assessing existing networks like the pedestrian, bike, public transit, and vehicular networks. And we'd like to come back to talk with council again in a few months, at the beginning of April, to discuss what we know so far and our approach to identifying needs and opportunities. The needs and opportunities part of the project will include both staff-led analysis and a robust public engagement effort over the summer to help identify areas of concern or opportunities that come from people's experience using the system. Moving into the latter half of 2025, we'd like to circle back with you again to go over what we learned during those summer months and begin discussing what might be possible in terms of solutions. From there, we'll talk with you in 2026 about how to prioritize and implement solutions. And our intention is to bring you a full package of updates in winter of 2027, including updates to the comprehensive plan and other city implementing documents like the municipal code, the engineering design manual, and the development code. This is why you'll see two items at the bottom of the slide: resources and funding and legal framework. And the reason we place this here is because we want to begin these conversations early and keep them going, so we end up with a plan that proves to be implementable at the point of adoption. To begin the process of drafting the vision, goals, and objectives, staff reviewed community input collected through other community planning efforts since 2010 in the city, and we learned several common themes were present over the past 15 years. People want higher quality experiences from the city's pedestrian, bicycle, and transit networks. An experience that is first and foremost safe, particularly when walking and cycling. We also learned that people are eager for third places, like pedestrian-oriented streets, where they can informally spend time together or run into familiar faces. And folks view speed and unsafe driver behavior as threats to the public well-being, noting that streets with vehicles traveling at a high speed often make it feel unsafe and unwelcoming to people who use them when walking or biking. We reviewed state and regional transportation plans, like the Oregon Transportation Plan and Metro's Regional Transportation Plan. We did this to ensure that the vision, goals, and objectives presented are consistent with what is in these plans. Again, this is important because we are going to need to show conformity with our state and regional partners. Once we completed our look backwards, we wanted to rekindle that conversation with community and begin the process of looking forwards. We did this using two community engagement methods. The first method was to hold family-friendly community transportation visioning workshops in October of last year at the main library. We brought in two facilitators who specialize in hands-on play-based activities accessible to all ages and all abilities, and we had good attendance. 62 people attended the workshop. Common themes that we heard echoed those from past engagement efforts. Those included safety, streets for people, places where people can find beauty in their surroundings, enjoy nature and the company of one another, and more pedestrian and bicycle-oriented streets. Following the transportation visioning workshops, we opened a survey to the community asking for thoughts on the draft vision, goals, and objectives. Depending on the question, about 80 to 90% of respondents agreed or strongly agreed with the vision, goals, and objectives presented in the survey. And we received a lot of comment, underscoring the community's enthusiasm for the topic and providing staff with a lot of great information to help inform the plan. So let's move on to what the draft vision says. It begins with access for everyone. This is the starting point, and it's followed by the statement, we all have real travel choices that we can count on, that we can afford, that we can safely enjoy, that help people and planet thrive now and into the future. Then it drills a little deeper, specifying 6 goals associated with an element of the vision statement. The goals are areas of emphasis where Beaverton will take action and adopt policies. Under each goal, there are a set of objectives defining the outcomes Beaverton wants to achieve. So I'm going to walk through each of them briefly. Convenient choices for everyone is about making it easy to walk, bike, and take public transportation. It's also about helping folks who drive be able to transition over to electric vehicles. And it's about making sure that we think about a person's entire trip from start to end. Understanding that all trips start with walking or rolling and often involve other modes of travel, be it public transportation, bicycling, scooting, or driving. Reliable choices for everyone is about making sure a person can count on the system or service to be useful, and that they can plan their day with certainty, knowing that the system will reliably work the same every day. For example, that a bus shows up on time and the transit trip takes about the same amount of time each day. Affordable choices for everyone takes into consideration the collective cost of housing and transportation. It also is about making it possible for households and individuals to reduce one side of that equation and spend less on transportation if they desire to or need to. And finally, it's about making sure that the system enables residents and businesses to access jobs, education, and resources so that everyone can prosper. Safe and comfortable choices for everyone is about making sure people both feel safe and are safe when getting around Beaverton. It's about working toward eliminating fatalities and serious injuries caused by crashes on the system. And it's about making sure neighbors can thrive and people can rest assured that if there is an emergency, first responders can get to them. Connected, active, and enriching choices for everyone is about working toward a system where everyone can use it, independent of whether they have the ability to drive, including children, youth, older adults, and people with disabilities. It's also about considering how businesses in Beaverton can continue to connect with and expand connections with their customers. Sustainable and carbon-free choices for everyone is about making sure that we think about how we can simultaneously get to where we need to go while also being good stewards of the natural environment. And then finally, there are 4 strategic lenses staff propose applying to decisions as we go through the plan update. Strategic lenses offer a way of viewing a policy or a project or a scenario to understand it from a particular angle. We expect the strategic lenses to be helpful, particularly as we move toward needs identification solutions and a process for prioritizing solutions. So again, here are the questions that we would like to discuss, and we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts.
Thank you for the presentation. Councilor Kimmy.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. I always see you guys on the Zoom. It's good to see the face. Do we have to update this?
Yes.
But required? Does it have to go through extensive outreach and survey? Reason I'm asking is, okay, is there a significant difference between the plan before and now?
So the rules did change significantly. So from a regulatory perspective, the rules that existed are really based, they haven't been updated for about 30 years. And so those transportation planning rules got updated in 2022, and they are significantly different than the rules that were from the past. And so the city does need to come into conformity with them. The region, like I said, the regional transportation plan and the state transportation plan have both been updated to do that. So yes, we expect that this plan will be taking a very significantly different direction than plans in the past. And when we come back to you in April, we really want to talk to you about the approach that we're taking to this plan. First step being how to identify needs and opportunities, and I think we can get into that a little bit more at that point. But the answer is yes, we do need to bring it into conformity.
Okay, I just wanted to know. The other question is, we want people to use more public transportation, cycle, bike, and walking, right? But that's going to impact people not driving, which will impact our revenue for maintenance of the road. Are we looking in that perspective also? Because our roads need upkeep and maintenance, but this plan will eventually drive down our income to maintain the road. How does that come together? do we have a revenue source to maintain what we have?
Are you talking about the gas tax?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother work session on the funding.
I'm
I mean, it
just
is
throwing
true
out there,
that the gas tax is not keeping up, and it is also true, I'll just state right now, is that we are very dependent on federal sources of money and outside sources of money compared to other jurisdictions who also have local revenues streams that Beaverton does not have at this moment. Not to say that that even if we had those, would that be enough? I don't know. So we are looking at that as we go forward, because we know that we've known for a long time that we need to maintain the system and invest in it in other ways. So,
thank you for that. Because the reason I'm asking is, before we do imagine great things about the community and transportation and how people move, we have to find the resources for us to maintain what we have, right? So I'd like to, if you come back next time, have somewhat of think about the ways that we can have enough revenue to upkeep our road. So that's my ask.
yeah, I absolutely hear that. And one more thing I just want to add on that is that as we go forward, I think there are ways to also think about when we are maintaining infrastructure, how we implement some different solutions, right? So if we're repaving an area, for example, would we put it back exactly the same way as we had it before, right? Yeah. So it's just stuff like that that I think we'll be considering as we go forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Husson?
Yes, thank you for this presentation. I get all the feels just like seeing all the words, and it makes me really excited to see that we're updating this after many years. The only one question I had, and I'm curious what your thoughts are, and then I can ask the council, is there a place to say something about using visual markings on the streets for safety or art? Is that the place for something like this? Yes or no? If yes, I'll hey, council, what do you think? Or if no, I'm in the weeds.
That's a great question. I think that this is still pretty high level, right? So I think that falls into some of the other areas, goal areas. And when we get into talking about solutions and opportunities, I think there is an opportunity to start having a conversation about what those might be, right? Again, we'd like to have a more extensive conversation about that in April, but I think that there's a lot to talk about in that conversation around what direction we take in terms of large capital investments and quicker implementation, quick build, rapid implementation types of project like the ones that you just mentioned, high visibility crosswalks, curb extensions, things like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's for the council's, interest. Part of me wondered if that is something that should live in these bullet points, and maybe it doesn't, but I just think when I think of visual markings, for those of you who've traveled outside of the United States, there are ways that there are markings and ways to help folks slow down. And so does that need to be formally incorporated in here, or is it just us letting staff know that we care about it so that it is something that's integrated later in the future? So
I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of where I was trying to go, is I think we'll get there, and this sets up the framework to get us to start being able, there's going to be a lot more detail in this plan beyond what you're seeing in these vision goals and objectives.
Yeah.
This is really at the top.
Okay. Yeah. That was my main thing, pretty art and things and ways to integrate that. And if it needs to be here, great. And if not, I'll let the other counselors speak.
Counselor, what I would add is that these are giving us sort of the North Star for the project and the direction. So if you are imagining things that fall under safety, for example, that's addressed in here. If you're talking about having people enjoying being outside and having a place to gather as part of the transportation system, that could be an umbrella for what you're talking about as well. So just reframing not reframing, but the purpose of these words right now is to so we know where we're going, and then we can kind of figure out the solutions that we specify later.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Teeter.
Yeah, thank you both for being here. I am very excited about this. This is something we absolutely need to do, and I think will really lead to some transformational change in the city over the next couple of decades. And I think we hear a lot about street safety, a lot about high speeds on our streets and people being uncomfortable, or traffic congestion. There's just a lot of issues with our streets that people are experiencing, and I think we've got an opportunity to set a really great vision here. And I think what you all have listed out as our first goals and strategic lenses are really good. I had a thought about goal 6. It's the sustainable and carbon-free choices for everyone. I wonder if there might need to be, or if there should be, something about a goal to reduce vehicle miles traveled included in this goal somewhere.
So
pull up that slide, maybe. Slide 15.
So reducing vehicle miles traveled is a performance metric that's actually in the regional transportation plan, and it's a requirement of the transportation planning rules. We need to not increase vehicle miles traveled and actually decrease it. And so this really falls into the category of performance metrics and standards. And I know that it can get kind of complicated. There's a lot of vision, goals, objectives, and performance metrics, but we're not quite at the performance metrics part, and those are really important. That really comes into those conversations. There's performance metrics to look at how to assess the plan in and of itself, but then there's also performance metrics that we use often in development review as standards. And this is something that we want to kick off this conversation with our legal folks, with our finance folks, and really kind of understand the whole process of how things are getting funded and what the standards are that we're using. So I think, again, I'd want to punt that to, we're almost there. We're not quite with the vision, goals, and objectives, but I hear you, and that is actually one that we're going to have to consider. So,
yeah, thanks.
Yes.
No, I don't have any other comments. I'm just very excited about this, and I'm excited for us to keep taking steps forward as we kind of build this out. So thanks for being here.
Councillor Tivnon.
I'm very excited about this. The very first type of plan I became acquainted with in terms of all things urban planning was a TSP report that I had to edit as a proposal coordinator back in about 2010. And I had no idea what TSP meant. Someone said, "Can you edit this TSP?" I was like, okay. And in the process, started to understand the constellation of plans and how they relate to each other, comprehensive plan and all of the different components of that, to the different types of plans that we do at the city level that have to work in concert with those to make all of this work in some sort of a synergistic, holistic fashion in how we're making our decisions. And the TSP especially just has so many far-reaching implications for all development decisions that we're making within the city, as well as public safety, as well as just a carbon reduction to people getting to their jobs or wherever they're going as seamlessly as possible. It's also one of the most expensive areas is taking care of our transportation infrastructure and then taking advantage of innovations in this space and getting those deployed. There's so much at play here, and I think Milliken is a great example of an idea that was formed in a plan that existed in a world that we don't live in anymore, and how quickly some things can change quicker than we ever could have imagined, which the pandemic definitely brought home, and work from home, the changing nature of how people get places and where they're going to and when. So I can't wait for this work to get going. I don't have any major questions other than just an observation around the schedule that it seems ambitious for this body of work at certain points of it, especially opportunities and needs, looking at solutions, and just knowing how the types of staff resources that are going to be needed to do this, getting the right consultant team engaged on the work, and getting input from council along the way. I cannot wait for this. I am so excited that this is happening during the time that I get to be on council. But also, the time is right for this because it's aging out and we need to have a new one put in. The fact that it's happening at a time when we have to think really carefully about future investment. I will stop now because my fellow councilors are starting to snicker at how jazzed I
Wow,
am.
the TSP really gets you going.
Oh, it's the best.
Happy Valentine's Day. Councilor Tucker.
Thank you for this. People in the audience, we've seen this. This is not our first bite at this apple. We've all gotten briefed on this. I do have a couple questions, though. Well, just the only concern I really have is this is really broad goals, right? Like whenever when I strategically evaluate things, I actually try and run a few different existing projects through them and see if they help me make an informed decision. And because of the broad, there's a grab bag of goals that I think everyone in Beaverton could realistically support a few of these at least. And that kind of gives me pause. And is it too broad that it's not actually serving our needs for updating the TSP, right? That is a genuine concern that I have because I love every single one of these. And I was like, are we eating a dinner of candy instead of actually getting the specific goals and priorities that we need, I guess is my question.
Goals are by their very nature very broad. And I think as we go forward, it's going to be really important to home in on how things relate to them, right? And so, as Brian said, it is our North Star, and it's really important to have the North Star to know where you're headed to, right? But it's also can be overwhelming. I know that. I've had conversations with colleagues even being like, oh my gosh, it's connected to everything. Oh my gosh, right? But I think as we do have a strategy of how to do this incrementally, how to do it in a way that begins to make that shift and where you can look for investments that really augment one another, right? And really start thinking about it in somewhat of a different way than what we have in the past. But we need to know what we're working towards before we can kind of home in on the actual strategy to make it feel a little bit more tangible, right? And some of that will come through performance metrics too, right? Once you start seeing, okay, what are the things that we're actually measuring, I think that will help, right? I don't want to get into it too much tonight because it is a whole nother work session. But we have been thinking quite a bit about what those performance metrics are, and I think, and I hope that they'll kind of give you a little bit more clarity on the direction that we're taking to make something that seems gigantic into much more digestible pieces.
I have one tiny amendment, if I might. The goals are the beginning, and we'll have a discussion soon, I think in April, about what the tools and the strategies available are for the city to meet the goals, kind of how do we get there. And then later in the project, we'll have basically a decision-making structure that we'll have to create about how we choose projects and what's important to us. So as we walk through this with the community and the council, we'll keep bringing these with us every time. And if we find out that we're missing something that we haven't thought of tonight, or we need to kind of rethink and make sure we get the outcome we want, we can still do that later. Okay. But having a good start will be really helpful for the first few steps, and then we can kind of revisit it.
Yeah, I'll trust the process. I just this feels like I'm giving you 6 North Stars, and you might look up and say, which one do I go towards, right? Instead of a single. So I'll trust the process, but this just feels a little broad. Having said that, right, I love the changes you all have made around the reliable choices about including the inclusion part around people with disabilities. Brilliant change. That's exactly, I don't know who else asked for that, but I certainly asked for that, and that's exactly what I think when we talk about an inclusive city, that these are the concrete things that actually will guide us towards that. I love the change around the people and the planet, like making us sustainable, in the goals. I thought that was really good. The only thing that might be missing, and I don't want to add another goal right after just telling you we have maybe too many, but just something to think about around innovation is a key. Like, I think there's a lot of changes happening right now around smart investment, smart technologies. I go to the airport and there's little lights that tell me where to park now, and I don't have to drive. Things like that. Like, is there anything around, don't answer tonight, but just like technology innovation that might kind of be more of a goal around, like, and maybe that's just implied by reducing some of the VMTs and things like that, but just, I'll leave it at that, I guess. Thanks.
I think what we all just learned is that Councilor Duggar parks in the expensive airport parking. So, Councilor Hartmeyer-Prigg.
Thank you. Jessica, I have a question that you can tell me to wait till like the next conversation on, and I won't be upset, but I know. As you were answering my colleagues, I was like, I might have one of those questions. But I'm thinking about, it doesn't happen too often, but every now and then we see like a transportation project or a road project, you know, something just gets redone, and then there's a project 6 months to a year later that impacts that same area and it has to get undone and redone, right? And I'm curious if it's part of something like in like the sustainability goal that like, you know, does that tie into TSP, or does that come through like our other like development code planning project, you know, like, is that somewhere else, or is there part of this that can come together that we say in building this sustainable, you know, plan and infrastructure of transportation, that we also, like, we could do those things closer, you know, like maximize that, reduce waste through that process, reduce dollars spent, time spent, disruption to everyone impacted by it, right? Does that fit in here, or is that something else?
I think what you're talking about is coordination and
You said
having
it so simply.
really good plans and structures for being able to communicate what our plans are, and structures of communication between our partners and us, so that it's pretty clear what's on the horizon, and so that we don't have that, because obviously that is not something that we want. That's duplicative and costly and inefficient in lots of different ways. So I think the hope is to come out of this process with a plan that provides a communication tool for us to be able to communicate that, and some adjustments perhaps to processes as well that allows us to get better coordinated.
Okay, thank you. And so yes, I'm comfortable moving forward with the vision, goals, objectives, and strategic lenses.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'll wrap up my comments, or I'll wrap up comments this evening. And I hear you on the multiple goals, but this is a document that's intended to live for a long time, and transportation has not just one North Star, right? Transportation and safety mean a lot of things. The other kind of like downer aspect of it, as the person that has to go to DC and ask for money, because as you pointed out, we are very, very dependent on federal funding to get things done. The federal government does not align with our values right now. And so having a little bit broader gives me a lot more to work with when we're talking about grants, when we're talking about traveling Department of Transportation to talk about things. We might not focus on sustainability with this government, but there's enough in here where I think we can find common goals. And so we do need a higher level document as we're trying to go after federal funding. Now, this document aligns us perfectly with state values, and this is kind of a tension that's challenging for cities right now, is we have a state government that I would say matches our pace and our expectation for our transportation system, but we have a federal government that's going to prioritize birth rates and marriages. And so that's a hard place for us to be in, but this document is intended to get us past the next 4 years as well. So we just have to keep that in mind. I'm not suggesting we change anything in this document. I think it is awesome and it aligns with our values, and sure, there are things I would think we could add to it as we kind of go along the way. But we have to be realistic on how we go and ask for money, both from the state and the federal government. And I think this document will give us that ability to do both. But I think it does highlight where the council is. We want innovation. We want safe streets. We want to do all those things. That's nothing, like, staff doesn't need to hear. I mean, they hear it from us all the time. This document isn't going to fundamentally change how our staff plan, because this is a living document of our values. Now, I think Counselor Tivnon, on the other hand, will be reading this plan late at night and getting pretty excited about it. So thank you for the hard work. Thank you for guiding us down the path and keeping us in line. And please come back. I mean, obviously, there was no shortage of us wanting to have our fingerprints all over this. So I would suggest, as we do future work sessions, breaking it into chunks so we can be deliberate and not kind of all over the place with you guys. And I feel like that is the best way to get feedback from the council, is breaking it up into and maybe more than one work session, because we've lived by this document in our decisions on council for a long time that past councils have made. So this is our first real shot at this kind of update and what that means. And I would also tell the council, like, we don't have to be so deep in the weeds on this. Like, our goals and everything are going to set us there. But if there are things that you want to see implemented, think about it and how we're going to contribute to this document, because a future council is going to be bound by this for some time as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, on to our next fun thing. Sure, let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll come back at 7:55 as we reset. Nancy, please have a seat and get ready. Our last agenda item.
Woo-hoo.
Nancy, you ready?
I love to be the last one before you guys are done. Mayor, members of council, Nancy Hetrick with Raftellus. It's nice to be back. This is a follow-up to the annual planning retreat that you had in January. You have a copy of the workshop report that we prepared following that following the retreat, so it has all of the detail in there. Part of the outcome of our time together was identifying your top priority for the next year, along with review and discussion around 8 pillars. And so you had 6 or 8 strategic goals previously, and these were kind of repurposed as pillars, foundational components to the work that you do and the work that the city does every day. And so the combination of your single priority together with those pillars really provides a framework for the city going forward. So I have a very short presentation, I promise. It's very quick. And then this is an opportunity to reflect on the definitions that have been brought forward to you for each of those 8 pillars, a starting point for providing direction for the next year. So I'll take us through this presentation quickly. So first of all, we were together January 3rd and 4th, and just a recap, of course, all of this is in the workshop report as well, but we had some time to talk about governing together and working effectively as a team in all that you do on behalf of the residents of Beaverton. You also had an opportunity to engage with staff to spend time talking about organizational challenges, opportunities, initiatives, and really to help inform the priorities of the city. And then importantly, and what we're going to focus on this evening, is the identification of your top priorities. Turns out number 1 with Member Curley, right? The 1, along with the guiding pillars that we'll take a look at. And that's really the primary focus for this evening. So first off, I wanted to start with the top priority for the next year that came through the workshop. And this was a long discussion and intentional in terms of narrowing the focus to be strategic and focus really on something that is big and important and foundational to all of the work that you do every day, and that is on financial recovery. So with the understanding and expectation that this is going to be a big lift and require lots of time and attention, you wanted to spotlight this and be intentional in this work. So tonight is an opportunity to affirm that belief if you are still feeling the same way. Importantly, though, the one top priority of financial recovery is coupled with these 8 pillars. So previously your strategic goals, but really redefined, and you'll see the definitions in a moment, it's in your packet as well, that really seek to describe in an intentional, directional manner what these look like and how the city can implement them on a regular, ongoing basis for the community. So I'm going to take us through these 8 pillars. You have them in your packet. I will not read all of the words on the screen in the interest of time and efficiency for all of you. I know you have them before you, but I'll just read the first part of each of these, which is the first one is the inclusive community, and that is that Beaverton welcomes people of all backgrounds and cultures and is dedicated to achieving equitable opportunities for all. Each of these then includes some statements of how this is accomplished. And so I'd love your feedback on that as well. The second is good government. Beaverton is committed to delivering exceptional and responsive services. Again, there's some whys or some buys below that. And again, the commitment to how you're delivering services for your community. The third is safety. Beaverton recognizes that public safety is the foundation of a thriving community, helping to ensure that individuals feel secure and supported, with three methods of doing so. Next, we have housing. Then the focus, the directional statement on that is that Beaverton enables innovative housing options to create vibrant spaces where people can live, work, and thrive. Again, coupled with some strategies for making that happen. Next, we have economic prosperity. Beaverton is committed to fostering economic prosperity for all, and that inclusiveness is important to this conversation. Next, we have quality infrastructure. Beaverton is committed to preserving and enhancing quality infrastructure to ensure health, safety, and accessibility in our neighborhoods. 3 ways of doing that. Environmental sustainability. Beaverton is committed to promoting environmental stewardship for a cleaner, more sustainable future. And lastly, but very importantly, community wellness and fun, infusing that into the community. And that is Beaverton is committed to wellness and providing fun, enjoyable experiences that bring our community together. So each of these pillars provide direction and focus for decision-making, for operations, for the use of resources, limited resources within the city. And so the conversation during the annual planning retreat was that these are foundational and are accounted for in the work that is accomplished daily, but that the additional priority, the priority for the coming year and the focus for the organization will be to address the financial challenges that the city has encountered. So those are the pillars. That is my presentation. Would love to hear your thoughts and comments, and if you'd like us to go back, like me to go back on any of those slides with the words, I'd be more than happy to do so.
Thank you. Councilor Teeter.
Thank you. I've just got a few comments. If we can go to the inclusive community slide, that'd be good. I'll start just by saying I would support all of these. I think with the direction we went with the 8 pillars and the key priority being fiscal recovery, I think is essential for us right now. But for inclusive community, this third bullet feels a little out of place for me about wayfinding. I'm not sure if it needs to be there at all, but it's just, I would love, Nancy, if you have any thoughts, or if other councilors later on have any thoughts on that one. It just felt a little out of place when I was looking at these other bullets there. Do you have any first reactions for that, or like your reasoning for having it there?
No, these were, so you might recall that during the workshop we focused on the categories. We had referred back initially to some definitions that were created as an earlier iteration by council, then through some feedback and consultation with staff, they were refined, and so I don't have further content beyond that. This is at your disposal now.
Thank you. Okay, no, that's helpful. Okay, let's go to the safety slide. The first bullet here, I feel like it could have something added about restorative justice. We heard comments tonight about being proactive and seeking long-term solutions. We've got the Addiction Treatment Center opening up soon in Washington County. We've got our Beaverton Be Sober Court and Treatment Court. So I feel like adding something on here, saying something like, while seeking to break the cycle of crime by pursuing restorative justice solutions, could be helpful, or something like that. But restorative justice is on my mind here.
I would just say that I agree, we invest in that, but that bullet seems like that's not necessarily the same as a representative police force, and like that isn't the only thing the police does is restorative justice. That means that I feel like that would give the connotation that everything the police do is about arrest and negativity. So I'd be happy to we could figure out where that could go in, but I think connecting them together makes the connotation that police only do bad things.
Oh, that's fair. Yep. Okay, I've got 2 more quick points. Housing, if we can go to that slide. this first bullet, I'd love just to add on right after the word facilitating an abundant supply and diverse mix of housing types. So we're not just talking about the types of housing, but also trying to get more of it. And then lastly, with quality built infrastructure, the first slide.
Sorry, which one?
Quality built infrastructure. The first slide, I like the word accessibility. This is kind of nitpicky. Accessibility instead of convenience in the first bullet, prioritizing accessibility, unless we just add accessibility. But that's all my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hassan?
Yeah, I'll start off and say we were together when we agreed on this, so I feel very excited for where this is going. I was a little worried about some of the language because we're all very particular about language, but I feel like we're in the right direction. I'm happy to support some of Councillor Teeter's comments. I was like raising my hand. I wonder if the third bullet point would be quality infrastructure or, oh man, I had it up. I had like two options to put it in. It might have been safety. The wayfinding one, just putting it out there for you to think about and the council to think about.
I would also just say on that point, that is a very specific
Oh, I
goal
know.
that probably should not be in here. Like, why would we put wayfinding above literally anything else? So think about as we're going through
It's a
this,
lot
what
more
we would want in that place.
And on that, I was trying not to get in this, but here we are. My only other comment is just intergovernment. I think it was said in environmental sustainability around intergovernmental relationships. I'd like to see that in good government. I think it's natural. I think it's understood. I just think it's something, we do it. I think I'd like to see it in there to just emphasize that we are.
Intergovernmental in the good government side.
Yeah, we do it. I don't need to say it, but just, I think it's important to have something like that in there. That's all I have for now.
I would say it could be an addition to, but not taken out of this, because to accomplish any of the sustainability, it's going to require all of us. So I'm okay. I think it would be all right to add it to, but not remove from here.
That's how I heard it, was
Yep.
to, have it both places? Okay.
Councillor Duggar?
Can you flip to the inclusive community?
Yep.
I don't love that first paragraph.
Okay.
Diversity is more than just backgrounds and cultures. And I think if we're going to call those out specifically, we need to not call out anything and just say Beaverton welcomes all people and is dedicated to achieving equitable opportunities for all. Because I think if there's gender orientation, there's all kinds of other diversities. And if we don't call out everything, we shouldn't call out some, because that feels like a miss to me. Other than that, I think I can live with everything else.
And if it says all people, that.
All people
Right.
captures
Okay.
all versions, religion. There's so many different diversities, language.
No, fair.
I would feel most comfortable if we change that to all.
I support. Do you think we become too all? That's my concern. I hear what you're saying. I'd rather add a couple words in there if we're feeling like we want to go into that level of detail. I'm okay with the way that it is. When you move to all, I don't want to say it out loud, but it's like a very all lives matter type thing, and I don't want to do that. So just something for you to think about. I'm throwing it out there.
Yeah. I mean, either we add everything or we don't add anything.
There's some other language, and so I concur with Councillor Hassan, and my immediate thought went to all lives matter too. So you're not the cheese stands alone here. So maybe there's some other word besides all.
Or maybe you could even just say, Beaverton is a welcoming community dedicated to achieving equitable opportunities for all.
How about for everyone?
Yeah.
I'm okay with any number of this. I just, I don't want us to focus on one type of diversity, because that feels like it prioritizes instead of, our mission is to make literally it for everybody.
Yeah. I think transferring out all for everybody is a good, unless there's some other word. That's Councillor Tivnon's expertise. Yeah. Councillor Tivnon.
I want to make a case for wayfinding staying in.
I don't think you're going to win it here, but go ahead.
But not there. It goes there.
So the thing about it it's one, I'd just like to point out how often we've talked about, let's do wayfinding here, let's do wayfinding there, a gateway, how do we help each other get around? How do we connect across the three different bifurcated areas across Canyon and Farmington, all of that? Wayfinding is something, some people might just think of a sign, like, oh, there's a sign, that's wayfinding. It could be so much more than that, and thinking about it in terms of how people navigate their way around the city, where they feel welcome, where they might not even realize there's something for them out there. Like the new arts map is a great idea of that, which also shows us where the gaps are. Like, why don't we have art over here, over there? I think it's a foundational, fundamental thing about a city that makes me love it most is when I go somewhere and it's like the city is saying, check this out, check that out. And I feel safe in doing that and confident in doing that. So that's my pitch.
I have no good response, so if it wants to stay, that's fine. That was a good one.
Yeah, and that was my only big comment because it did, I noticed it and my very first reaction was, that seems very prescribed. And then I thought about more.
Wayfinding the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it feels too jargony.
It is, it's a very urban-y, planny kind of term. But overall, I'm so happy with where we ended up with all of this. My only request is if we have I would love the signage, the wayfinding of council chambers, again, just not not like that. I want it to just be these 8 pillars and have that be something that people can come in and they can see that and just the story that tells them about the way that their city approaches running a city.
My only request is that council has to keep saying, my only request, and then you guys all have said like 4 things. So my mini request would be that the goal side in the back.
Among my
Councilor
requests.
All of my colleagues had such great input. I also think that it was a very healthy retreat, and this is a really awesome outcome from it. So I really feel like we could just say this is it, and we would be in a really good spot. So thank you for bringing this back too. Councilor Tivnon, I was just daydreaming as you were talking about that. So I think you're right though. I think I do like it an inclusive community because of that, that people feel. Do not laugh at me.
I was just in my mind thinking of the movie Jumanji when she was talking and how they got in the map, and that's what won me over. So
okay, very different than mine, but I just think it is something that we have talked about so much, and I, as you were talking about it, as not just as of a specific thing, but the concept. Right. And we do it in things like our neighborhoods, right? There's other ways that comes to life. So I really do like it. Maybe the bullet needs a little something, but even as is, I don't have something to offer. So I'm pretty comfortable with where this is at. And I think great feedback from my colleagues.
I think the only thing we didn't gain consensus on was your word change. What was your word? You didn't want the word convenience?
Yeah.
I liked abundant.
I like abundance, but your other word thing, I don't think I can get behind.
It was in the first, it was in the opening paragraph, Councilor Teeter. Accessibility was in the opening paragraph of that one, and so then it would just be replicating the word.
Abundance of opinion here as we
That
go.
was in housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
All right, well, it seems like, did you have anything? You didn't put your name in the chat, so we don't know. All right, go ahead.
I don't have anything.
Oh, wow.
Good job,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, with that, thank you, Nancy, for staying till the end with us and working through it. And I
Pleasure.
would say, with only 8 requests changed, that's a home run.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's your home run, so congratulations. Well
Thank
done.
you. We'll take our victory lap. Thanks for
Exactly.
coming.
It's our pleasure.
All
Thank you so
right, we
much.
do have just council new business. Councilor Kimmy, you had something for us?
Yes. Do you have to just say it? Yeah.
Yes. You have to
Okay.
say what she wrote on that
Alright.
paper for you.
I move to direct Raftelis to make a contingent offer to the top candidate for the city attorney's position.
Second.
I think Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg had it. It was moved and seconded by Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg. Any discussion? Seeing none? Do we need a roll call? Yeah, please call the roll.
Mayor Beatty? Counselor Tivdon?
Yes.
Counselor Teeter?
Yes.
Counselor Kimmy?
Yes.
Counselor Hussam?
Yes.
Counselor Hartmeyer Prigg?
Yes.
Counselor Duggar?
Yes.
7-0.
Great. Counselor Hesson?
Yes, sorry. You were between me and the bed. But I have to run to the hospital after this to see a friend, so I'll be really fast. I had an interaction a couple weeks ago with a friend. It was like a acquaintance, and it ended up becoming more. And it was just a mom who had shared that she had lost 60 family members in Gaza. And I was just reminded of the impact that that's happening on our local community. So our count is about 100 folks in this in the Beaverton, Washington County area who've lost family. And I just want to take a moment and share that with you all. We are also seeing increased activity of federal agents and not to cause alarm or anything, just making sure that's on your radar. There's a coalition called the Oregon for All. If you haven't seen it already, they're doing a lot, putting together resources to support. There's a lot of rapid response teams. So just, as you move, I think 2025 is going to be the year of like exotic empathy or exhausting empathy, because there's so much going on with so many folks. So I just kind of want to share that with you all, because I think it's been really heavy for me. So thanks.
Recording